We've seen some amazing ideas from the community about what the Koopaling bosses might be in the upcoming Super Mario Bros. Wonder on Switch 2. Let's take a look at some of the best ones. First up, I'd like to imagine Ludwig's battle an orchestra-themed one. Ludwig is named after the famous composer Ludwig van Beethoven, and there's even a direct reference to Ludwig composing music in one of the castle victory screens in Super Mario World, so it's very plausible that Ludwig's battle could have something musically related, even taking the form of an orchestra. There are two theories to support this. Firstly, Nintendo already went the concert route with Bowser's Rage Stage, the final boss of the original Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which has Bowser performing a jamming soundtrack for his cheering audience while our heroes try to jump to the beat to take him down. So it's very possible that Ludwig could also host a concert, but this time an orchestral one, with a similar jump timing mechanic where you have to master the melody to defeat the boss. As for the second theory, we've seen direct references to past boss fights in the bosses we've seen so far in Wonder, such as Wendy's battle, which has her taking the form of a massive fish jumping through hoops, and both of those are things that have appeared or been referenced to in past fights. So it seems clear that Nintendo is keen to respect the history of the Koopalings, and one great way to do that would be to reference the nod to Ludwig as a composer in Super Mario World by including something related to a concert in his battle in Wonder. Next up, we always see Lemmy on his little circus ball. What if in Wonder he becomes his little circus ball? This is a great idea, picking up on how Wendy actually transforms into a giant fish in her battle in Wonder, so it's safe to assume that at least some of the other Koopalings will follow suit and transform too. In Lemmy's case, he basically never appears without at least some kind of circus reference, so it's quite possible that he could transform into something circus themed for his fight. But how would we damage a giant circus ball? Our best bet is that we'd have to knock it back somehow, maybe off screen or through a gauntlet filled with enemies and obstacles, and each time he gets sent off screen, that counts as a hit on the boss. Then the ball drops back in from above and gets a bit larger in each phase, making it harder to knock back but also easier to hit. There's a lot of possibilities here. Then Iggy could transform into a Chain Chomp. This would be a perfect transformation for Iggy, who's been seen commanding Chain Chomps on two separate occasions, both in New Super Mario Bros. Wii and also in New Super Mario Bros. 2. He sends the crazed Chain Chomp after Mario, who has to dodge its attacks and jump on Iggy's head, which is no easy task considering how erratically the Chain Chomp moves, and there's also the matter of the fireballs that Mario has to dodge. What if this time Iggy becomes an oversized Chain Chomp who homes in on Mario and the gang, similar to how Fire Chomps tail Mario in Super Mario Bros. 3? In keeping with tradition, the transformed Iggy could also spit fireballs at the gang, who have to dodge them as they try to damage the boss. And maybe the way to deal damage is to pick up the chain and then spin jump to send it flying off screen or into some lava. What's next? Lemmy could transform into a Hoppo. What a great idea for Lemmy's transformation. Hoppos are known for being big, bouncy hippopotamus enemies that hop and bounce around, so this transformation would make perfect sense, both respecting Lemmy's famous circus-themed past, whilst also providing a challenge that's completely relevant to Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which is the first game where Hoppos appeared. Again, we could possibly deal damage by knocking the Lemmy Hoppo off screen or into some kind of damage hazard. Great! I wonder if Larry's battle would be tennis themed. Great reference here. One of Larry's attacks in a past game, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, is indeed tennis themed, where he uses his tennis racket to knock fireballs at the Mario Brothers. Although Superstar Saga is technically a spin-off game and therefore not part of the main series, it's still possible that Nintendo could choose to reference this, especially when you consider that Larry doesn't have too many unique or defining traits in his boss fights throughout the main series, like Wendy's hoops or Lemmy's circus attacks for example. Alternatively, Larry could attack using something water-themed, referencing his fight in New Super Mario Bros. U, so it's possible he could even pilot a submarine. Maybe he could go the Yoshi route and fully transform into a sub, firing homing torpedoes at Mario's crew. Then, I'm in love with the idea of Ludwig flying a battleship. Since Ludwig's bosses are always in the sky, it'll probably take place in Fluff Puff Peaks. I think maybe he'll shoot down Wonder Mecha Koopas. I'm so excited for Morton's boss fight. A massive flying battleship for Ludwig would definitely make for an amazing fight. We can imagine it full of cannons that shoot fireballs at our heroes, who are flying through the sky in their jets. It's a great point that Ludwig's fights often appear in the sky, so it makes even more sense when you think of it that way. Maybe Ludwig could even transform into the battleship, similar to how his airship appears in New Super Mario Bros. U. Just because he's a composer doesn't mean that his fights have to include music, but we think both ideas are equally great. Throwing Mecha Koopas in the mix makes sense too, since those are often seen around Bowser and his top minions, especially when airships are involved. Knowing Iggy, the fight would definitely have Chain Chomps as a key element. My bet is something similar to the giant Chain Chomps seen in Yoshi's Island. Another great point here, Iggy's fight is quite likely to feature Chain Chomps, as we've already discussed, but they could very possibly take the form of the giant Chain Chomps that you have to run away from in Yoshi's Island. These mega-sized Chain Chomps are completely invincible until they run into a solid obstacle, so maybe his entire fight could be a high-pressure chase through his world, dodging enemies and fireballs with Chain Chomp Iggy in hot pursuit. The battle could end once Mario and the team reach safety past a solid stone wall, maybe inside a castle, as the Chain Chomp crashes into the wall and ends up cracked and broken, shedding a tear or two before the whole thing transforms back into regular Iggy, who's all dazed and done for. I think Roy will have a rocket launcher on his arms with a jetpack in the air, and you have to hit a certain one to make him come down and jump on him. We haven't spoken about Roy yet, so this is a great chance to do that. Giving Roy something military related, like rocket launcher arms and even a jetpack, would be an amazing idea. He'd be fast and nimble with a jetpack like that, so Mario and friends would need to time their jumps well, maybe hopping off the homing bullet bills fired by Roy until they can land a good solid jump on his head. Maybe it would have a protective dome or shield, so we have to land several jumps before it's counted as a hit. It's also possible that we'd have to damage his arms like the comment said, which could force Roy to have to come in for a landing, making him vulnerable to a follow-up hit. It's a pretty unique idea, but then this is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which has been full of crazy concepts so far, so it might just end up happening. I think Iggy should be a submarine. Now that's an interesting one. While our first thought for a submarine would be Lemmy due to his past battle in New Super Mario Bros. U, it's also possible that Iggy, who's kind of an inventor depending on how you look at things, could cook up a submersible machine to take on Mario. The sub could have Chain Chomp style teeth that chomp away as it swims along, and maybe it could move around wildly like Iggy's Chain Chomps do in past battles. Whether it's Larry or Iggy piloting the sub, this is a great idea for a boss. And last but not least, Ludwig would be a jet. Another nice idea here, Ludwig could transform into a jet that zooms through the screen at high speed, meaning Mario and the team have to react quickly and time their jumps well to deal damage. Ludwig could also fire air-to-ground missiles or launch fireballs from the sky, just like how he did in New Super Mario Bros. U. As he often appears in the sky, like we said before, this makes total sense, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him in either a jet or a battleship in Wonder on Switch 2. So there's some pretty amazing ideas for the Koopaling's new transformations and appearances in Super Mario Bros. Wonder on Switch 2. Which one is your favourite? Don't hesitate to let us know your thoughts and even your own ideas in the comments section. Thanks for tuning in to this analysis of Super Mario Bros. Wonder on Switch 2. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.